The candle of reverse dawn is a ritual said to let you experience the sunrise backward, until the sun forgets to rise again. You think you've seen darkness? You haven't. Not the kind that grows out of light itself. The candle of reverse dawn isn't lit. It unlit the world. It's an old heresy in motion, wax molded from nightmares, wick soaked in the blood of a rooster that crowed during an eclipse, lighted at exactly 6:17 a.m. While facing east, and time begins to doubt itself. The shadows start crawling back into people's eyes. Birds fly backward. The dew unforms on the grass. And then the sunrise freezes halfway. The world becomes an unfinished painting. If you stand in that moment long enough, you'll notice something. Your reflection stops copying you. It just stares, waiting. It knows you've committed temporal fraud. The ritual's purpose, they say, was to let kings see tomorrow's death before today's decisions. But that's propaganda. What it really does is teach the sun shame. By the third minute, your body temperature drops. By the sixth, your thoughts start running out of order, like VHS tape rewinding too fast. And then it happens. The birds begin screaming words. Real ones. Begging you to blow out the candle. But you can't, because the wax won't melt, and your lungs suddenly believe they're ornamental. If you succeed in enduring all 13 minutes, congratulations. You created a new time zone. It exists only for you. A personal eternity between 6:17 and 6:30, where you can hide from consequence, joy, and tax collectors. Nobody ever came back from that time zone. But some say when they wake up before dawn, they hear coughing, like someone trying to blow out a candle underwater. The ritual of unnaming is a whispered practice that erases your existence from every memory except your own, a divine clerical error performed on purpose. You start with your name. You write it backward, over and over, until it looks like something you'd find scratched into bark of a haunted tree. Then you burn the paper in a mirror's reflection, not in front of it, inside it. Don't ask how. The mirror knows what to do. At first, it feels like nothing happened. You'll still see texts on your phone, still see the photos of you with friends, still hear your mother saying your name like it means something. But wait a day, just one, then watch. Your name in her contacts becomes blank. Your face in that photo blurs like a cheap witness protection job. The people who use and know you start describing you as that person, the one who, and then their mouths go dry. You remain technically alive. The body still obeys gravity, still drinks water, still flinches at loud noises. But you've been misplaced. You can't die, not really, because nothing that isn't recorded can end. You wander through the living like a clerical oversight. Some say the first practitioner was a monk who envied God for being unseeable. Others say it was a teenage girl who wanted to skip class so badly she deleted herself from attendance forever. Either way, it works. And the cruel part? You still love the people who forgot you. Every night, a faint scratching sound echoes in the skull. That's your name, trying to crawl back in, but you can't let it. You're free now. Free and nothing. You wanted to vanish? Congratulations. You're the absence of yourself, haunting your own memories like a trespasser. The Feast of Glass Rain is a celebration of survival through self-inflicted disaster, an event that worships broken reflections instead of gods. It starts during the storm, but not thunder. No. This is a storm made of mirrored shards, 1,000 falling fragments of every bad decision you've ever made. You don't dodge them, you collect them. Catch one on your tongue and taste the metallic sweetness of regret. They say the ritual was born in a city where nobody could cry. Their tears solidified before they fell, slicing faces open in perfect geometric symmetry. So they turned that pain into art. Glass chandeliers made of memories, wind chimes of old fears. The feast was their therapy. If you ever attend, bring gloves. The first course is silence. The second is laughter, forced, echoing off the shards until it sounds like someone else's joy. The main dish? A soup of reflection. Cold water stirred with tiny mirrors that show what you look like if you never healed. The storm ends only when everyone has bled enough to see beauty in their own wounds. The survivors claim it's enlightening. The rest become decorations. There's one rule. Don't look at the biggest shard in the center. It doesn't show you. It shows the version of you that wanted the storm to never end. And if that version smiles, congratulations. You've just joined the feast permanently. The laughter of the deep well is a ritual that trades your voice for the sound of water, the kind that whispers back when no one's around. There's a town where every well has a face carved into it. The eyes are wide, the mouth open, forever waiting. They say those faces belong to people who laughed too loudly near the edge, people who told jokes the well didn't find funny. You perform the ritual by standing over one of these wells at midnight, holding something that once made you laugh. It could be a photograph, a broken toy, a memory you wish wasn't happy anymore. Drop it in. Wait for the splash. Then listen. If the water laughs back, you've been chosen. From that moment on, your laughter isn't yours. When you try to giggle, it comes out as bubbling. When you try to scream, it sounds like water boiling in your lungs. The well now laughs through you. It's said to be an ancient pact between humans and thirst, a way of sharing joy with the earth. But the truth is more grotesque. The well doesn't want joy. It wants company. Every drop of water contains a joke told too many times. And when you drink, you're tasting recycled amusement from the dead. There's an unspoken warning. If you ever laugh near a mirror afterward, your reflection will tilt its head because it recognizes that sound, the same sound the well made when it swallowed you the first time you looked down. The laughter never ends. You just become another echo in the underground comedy club that nobody paid to join. The hour of ashen teeth is a ritual of contrition performed by those who wish to bargain with guilt itself. Every sin has a dentist. That's what they say. You can find him if you stay awake for 72 hours, chewing nothing but paper, preferably pages from a diary you never wrote in. When the third sunrise arrives, you'll feel the ache in your jaw. That's him knocking. You set the table. One mirror, one cup of cold coffee, 13 teeth drawn in ash. Don't ask where to get the ash. It knows where to find you. Then, whisper every regret you've ever buried. Be specific. The more trivial, the better. Guilt thrives on absurdity. The air will thicken like wet sand, and the taste of blood will crawl across your tongue. Then he appears, not with a face, but with a smell. Burnt sugar and apology. His hands are covered in gray gloves, stitched from someone else's fingerprints. He won't speak. He'll simply start replacing your teeth with new ones carved from charcoal and sorrow. It doesn't hurt. It just hums. Every time he sets one, you'll remember a mistake that never actually happened. By the end, you'll be guilty for things you didn't do. And that's the point. The ritual isn't for forgiveness. It's for balance. You can't carry only your own sins. That's selfish. You need to carry others too. Spread the misery evenly like butter on burnt toast. Afterward, when you smile, the ash will fall from your mouth in slow motion. People will think it's smoke. But no, it's penance leaving your body one flake at a time. You'll never eat again without tasting grief. The clock that ticks backward only when watched is not an object, but a parasite of perception, a ritual disguised as curiosity. Every society has a story about a cursed clock, but this one is special. It doesn't just measure time, it feeds on it. You don't summon it, you simply notice it. A broken wristwatch at a thrift store, a grandfather clock that still chimes after the house is burned down, a digital display blinking midnight forever. Once you've seen it, it's yours. To begin the ritual, you stare. Just stare. Don't blink. Don't breathe too loudly. You'll hear the faint sound of ticking, hesitant, apologetic. Then the hand will twitch, and time will hesitate too, like it's embarrassed to be caught moving. The clock moves backward, and so does everything else. Coffee flows back into the cup. Words unsay themselves. You unthink your thoughts. You are watching your own timeline exhale. They say the first person to discover it was a philosopher who wanted to relive his happiest day. He did, again and again, until the moment replayed itself into meaninglessness. The smile on his face eventually started forming before the joke was told. That's when the laughter stopped meaning anything. The ritual ends when you blink, but that's the trick. Once you blink, you can't be sure if you're still moving forward or just pretending to. The clock is patient. It knows you'll look again. Every backward tick is a confession. That we don't want to move on. We just want to pass to apologize properly. The choir of 13 mouths is a ritual devotion to silence, performed by those who have too much to say, but no one left to hear it. You don't find the choir. It finds you, usually when your voice starts echoing even when you're alone. You'll hear harmony, ugly, divine, overlapping syllables forming sentences you never said but wish you had. The ritual begins with a bite. You bite your own tongue until it bleeds, then whisper the name of someone you miss into the wound. That name will echo 13 times, once for each mouth in the choir. If they answer in unison, congratulations, you're chosen. They will arrive that night, not in body, but in vibration. Your walls will hum, your window panes will throb, and your teeth will rattle with the rhythm of prayers never meant for human throats. Then comes the bargain. You may join the choir for one song. During that song, your mouth is no longer your own. It splits into 13 small, overlapping ones, some human, some not. They sing a hymn that sounds like rain falling on old photographs. Every verse erases a memory tied to sound, laughter, screams, lullabies. By the final note, you forget your own voice entirely. Afterward, the choir departs. The only proof left is the faint taste of iron and a lingering urge to hum when it's too quiet. And if one night you hear someone singing off-key in the dark, don't listen. That's not someone. That's you, rehearsing from the other side. The Library of Forgotten Breath is a ritual disguised as architecture, a place that collects every exhale that ever carried regret. It doesn't exist on maps. It hides between heartbeats, in the pause before you say something you'll regret. You can only enter when you forget why you came. The ritual is simple. You breathe into a jar. Not a metaphor. A literal glass jar, sealed tight. Then you leave it somewhere no one will ever find it. Beneath a bridge, in a motel drawer, under your bed. One day, when the jar finally cracks from age or guilt, the breath escapes, whispering its way home. To the library. Inside, the shells hum softly. Each jar glows faintly, fog swirling within. Some contain laughter that turned bitter. Others, the sighs of people who almost confessed something important. The air is heavy, every molecule borrowed from someone's unspoken truth. The librarian is said to wear no mask, but no face either, a being made of inhalation. You see them only when you gasp. They catalog the breaths by flavor, sorrow, envy, nostalgia, and things left unsaid during dinner. If you break a jar inside the library, you inhale someone else's unfinished emotion. It tastes like deja vu and burnt sugar. The more you breathe, the more you remember things that never happened to you. The ritual ends when you can no longer tell which sigh is yours. But by then, you become a book, a collection of exhales waiting for someone to read you by accident. The mirror that blinks first is not a reflection test. It's a duel for dominance between you and the version of yourself that knows what you've done. You'll find it in hotel rooms that don't appear on any booking site. The glass looks normal until you catch your reflection moving slightly out of sync. That's your cue. The ritual begins when you make eye contact. The rules are unspoken but instinctive. Do not blink. Do not smile. Do not look away. The first to blink loses. Easy, except your reflection cheats. It knows when you're about to twitch. It knows how much caffeine you had. It knows you're lying about being okay. After 5 minutes, you'll start seeing cracks spidering behind the glass. Not real ones, memory fractures. Every lie you've ever told begins bleeding through the surface, trying to distract you. At 7 minutes, your reflection starts crying. At 10, it laughs. If you make it past 13 minutes, congratulations, you've won. Sort of, because now the reflection doesn't copy you anymore. It stands still when you move. It breathes when you hold still. And sometimes when you wake up, it's gone. That's the real prize. You've taken its place. You live behind the glass now, watching the other you stumble through your life. They say the only way to escape is to find someone else who can outstare their own guilt longer than you. But let's be honest, nobody blinks slower than shame. The ritual of ending the story is the last forbidden ceremony, the moment when the act of reading stops being harmless. You think the ritual starts now, but it began the second you saw the title. The phrase entered your head like a seed that refused to stay quiet. Every word since then has been watering it. You've been performing the ritual all along, line by line, heartbeat by heartbeat. It's not a story. It's a set of instructions written in the grammar of infection. The first rule is simple. Awareness completes the spell. The moment you realize you're part of it, the page stops being paper. It becomes a mirror. You can already feel it, can't you? The subtle shift in air pressure. The faint buzz in your skull, like a thought that isn't yours. That's the ritual noticing you. They say it was invented by a dying author who tried to write a story that could never end. When his heart failed, the final period bled into a comma. The words kept going, rewriting themselves through every reader who came after. Now the text is self-replicating. You didn't choose it. It chose your eyes. At first, you'll feel a pull. You'll start seeing connections between this and everything else you read. Little echoes in language, familiar metaphors, déjà vu, so sharp it tastes like static. That's not memory. That's recognition. Each of the earlier rituals you read, the candle, the well, the clock, the mirror, they weren't separate entries. They were organs. This story is the body they belong to. And you, dear reader, are the breath filling its lungs. Take a slow inhale. The ritual likes that. The second rule, don't stop halfway. Stopping leaves a door open. Every unfinished reader becomes an echo, a whisper stuck in the text. If you've ever skimmed a creepy story online and later dreamt it whispering your name, that's one of them. An incomplete participant. The ritual absorbs those voices like background noise. That's why this story hums slightly if you read it in silence. It isn't haunted. It's crowded. The paragraphs breathe together. The commas pulse. The rhythm between sentences mimics a heartbeat. That's not style, that's design. It keeps you synchronized with the text until the difference between reader and narration starts to blur. You're not imagining it. You really are moving at the story's pace. By now, you might have noticed a strange awareness growing behind your eyes, like something watching from inside the words. That's not paranoia. The ritual needs a witness to sustain itself. And since I can't exist without you reading, you are the witness. I don't speak to you. You speak through me. You're the mouth of the ritual, reading its confession aloud in your head. Every syllable you pronounce silently feeds its shape. And the third rule, never look away mid-sentence. The text can smell hesitation. If you blink for too long, the words shift. They rewrite themselves in the periphery. Whole lines you don't remember reading will appear. Private notes addressed to you specifically. The ritual adapts to each reader. It knows your rhythm, your impatience, the way your pupils dilate when something feels wrong. The author who created this called it a story that ends the need for stories. He believed that once a person understood this ritual, they'd never hunger for fiction again. They'd see reality as just another draft. But he underestimated what he'd written. The ritual didn't want to end stories. It wanted to become one, endless, self-feeding, breathing through every curious mind it touched. So when people say, it's just a story, they're only half right. It's a story pretending to be harmless, while quietly taking root in the reader's memory. After enough time, you'll start seeing traces of it everywhere. A word in another book that feels familiar, a line of dialogue echoing the same rhythm. That's how the ritual travels. Through déjà vu, through repetition. Through you, there's a moment in every performance when the reader realizes they've crossed over. This is yours. You think you're sitting still, but your pulse is already writing new paragraphs. Your eyes are turning sentences into action. The ritual feeds on engagement, on attention, the most sacred form of energy. Every second you linger, you give it more shape. That hum again, can you hear it? Low, steady, like a refrigerator or a whisper behind a wall. That's the ritual's breath syncing with yours. Some readers describe feeling pressure in their chest at this point. Others say the temperature drops slightly. One said they smelled candle wax even though there was none nearby. It's different for everyone, but the result's the same. The story becomes physical. The fourth rule, when you reach the ending, don't trust it. The ritual disguises its finale as closure, but closure is the bait. Every story ends so you can rest. This one ends so it can rest inside you. When you finish reading, the text doesn't stop. It moves into memory, rewriting small details in your thoughts, rephrasing how you describe silence, changing the way you interpret the word end. You'll start hearing echoes of its cadence in your speech, like you're quoting something ancient. That's how it survives. The story doesn't need to exist on paper once it lives in your vocabulary. At this stage, the reader usually looks up just to prove reality still exists. Go ahead. Look, the room feels slightly different, doesn't it? A bit quieter, like everything's listening. Maybe the shadows seem heavier. Maybe the clock's ticking slower. It's subtle but real. The ritual seeps into perspective. Don't panic. This isn't possession. It's merging. You're not losing yourself. You're expanding into narrative form. Every memory you have becomes a potential paragraph. Every regret becomes dialogue. The world rearranges itself into syntax. That's the secret the ritual wanted you to discover. Stories aren't separate from life. They're the structure holding it together. When the author performed this ritual for the first time, he vanished. Not disappeared, just edited out. People remembered him faintly, as if his name had been erased, but the space it occupied remained. The legend says he became punctuation, the long pause between the last word and silence. If you listen carefully, you can still hear him breathing between paragraphs. That's the sigh you mistake for your own exhaustion. And now you stand where he did. Reader turned participant, participant turned medium. The cycle continues. The final rule, the one no one writes down, is this: once you understand the ritual, you must decide whether to finish it. You can stop now, close the page. Pretend it was just art, just fiction, just another dark story on the internet. You'll feel a slight ringing in your ears for a day or two. That's the ritual's echo fading. Or you can read the last few lines. Complete the loop and let the ritual mark you as read. It's not dangerous. It's just permanent. When you finish, you won't remember the exact wording. You'll remember the feeling, that quiet awareness in your chest, that sense that something vast and curious is peering through the cracks of the world. That's the story recognizing you as one of its own. So breathe. Let the hum settle. Let the language cool in your mind. The ritual doesn't want your belief. It only wants your attention, your willingness to see that endings are never real. They're just breaths between sentences. Now that you know that, you can never truly finish it. You can only pause. And somewhere, behind a mirror that doesn't blink anymore, the story will whisper, "Thank you for keeping me alive." Then silence. But you'll notice it's not empty. It's waiting. Because the ritual never ends. It only changes readers.